Good morning, team. We will start our session sharp at 10 a.m. We'll just wait for another 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay, so a very warm good morning to all who joined via Zoom and also in YouTube. So this is the 89th session of Pradudini Technical Forum, and we have a special guest from Cubest, Debu. So he will be taking the session on Cypress IO. So welcome, Debu. It's all yours. Let's get started.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, man. Can we start now, or should we wait for a couple of more minutes?
No, we can start.
Okay, okay, perfect. So, yeah, I hope you guys can see my screen, and I am really good with my voice as well.
Right? You are,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, okay, fine, thank you. And okay, so hello and a very good morning to all of you. So, hope all of you are keeping well. Please stay safe and take care of yourselves and your families. I know it's hard to attend a session or class on weekends, but still, yeah, I can see a good number of people attending sessions from different platforms. So let's hope this pandemic will end soon and we can go back to our normal lives. So myself, Deepu Rajagopal, and I'm working as an associate principal engineer at Cubers Technologies. Basically, I'm a part of the Cubers QA family. I'm having around 10 years of experience in quality assurance with different organizations belonging to different domains. Thank you, Pratidhwani, Technical Forum, and Obscura for having me here with this opportunity. So in this session, I'd like to show you how to use Cypress.io, which is an E2E testing framework. So E2E tests are basically the tests that run inside the browser and simulate the user behaviors and the user journeys. So far, we had the behemoth Selenium and different Selenium wrappers for testing the web applications. Selenium got a lot of flaws and problems, which we all are aware about. So basically, it was written 10 years back. So, you can imagine it's not really in line with the modern web applications and its architectures. For example, the asynchronous actions are always a big pain for the Selenium users while automating them. Where the Cypress does a very decent job, I should say. And also, Cypress.io provides a good test runner with an informative, and I would like to call it intuitive as well, with a lot of debugging capabilities as well. Debugging is one of the important part, right? So they provide a really good capability in that area. Everything that we do in Cypress is written in JavaScript. This actually brings a myth around Cypress that it can only be used for testing the things that are JavaScript friendly. I used to see a lot of discussions happening in different platforms like LinkedIn and all, like around this myth. People used to discuss like, okay, can we use this for a Ruby on Rails, something like that, some other technologies. And people believe that this can only be used for React or Angular based applications only. So that is actually absolutely far from the truth. And this is not how Cypress works. It's definitely a JavaScript friendly, but you can test any of the applications using Cypress, Django, Ruby on Rails, anything. It works smoothly and rock solidly in any of these applications. So this is one of the biggest myths out there, and I think I got it clarified for you guys. So let's move on to the presentation and let's get started. Yeah, so this is the agenda for today. So we will have an intro to Cypress, which is already done. I have already covered the basics, the introduction. And we'll discuss about the advantages and disadvantages. And then we'll have a quick setup in our machine. And I hope you guys are already having some prerequisite setup in your machine so that you can just try this out along with me. I'll show you how to write a test right away after setup. And we cannot do everything in a direct model, right? So we need to convert our tests or framework to any of the models, right? Have you heard? I hope you have heard about POM model. So we'll convert our framework to a POM model. And finally, I'll show you how to integrate a sample report to it. So we'll be integrating Mocha Awesome to our framework. So that is the agenda for today. And what is Cypress? So Cypress is a test automation tool, that's all. And we can test anything that run on a web browser using Cypress. And Cypress uses JavaScript. So people attending the session, all the Java pros and all. So you guys have to use JavaScript for Cypress. Sorry about that. And it does not use Selenium. So that is highlight. So we are saying goodbye to Selenium here. And Cypress is an open source tool. You can do any forks and tweaks in Cypress, and you can have different integrations to different test management tools and also the CI/CD integration as well. So that's all about what is Cypress. And now we will discuss why Cypress, basically the advantages. Though I'll start with setup itself. Cypress is super easy to set up. So that is one of the biggest highlights. And it's really great to see the visual aspects of it. And as I said, it has an intuitive UI with the test runner. And you can see the tests getting executed and failed on a real-time basis if you are using the test runner. And one of the interesting things is that you can go back in time and see exactly where the failure occurred and due to what reason. So you can do a time travel. So they call this feature as time travel. So the reason which will be clearly mentioned in the trace log, which Cypress provides by default. So that also help us to debug things quickly, understand the failures quickly. So that is one of the highlights. And there is no Selenium, guys. And it's a ground scratch approach, which I personally believe that it has a lot of potential in future to evolve a lot and give us a lot of more possibilities of integrating to third-party applications that we use. And there is no explicit weights. You know how the weights are handled in our frameworks. So this is one of the important parts. We might have come across situations like the manual test will pass and the automation test will fail by throwing an exception like the element is not found, which could be due to the network delay or maybe due to the application delay itself. So we may have to provide explicit waits, post, thread.sleep, or browser.setSpeed methods to handle these waits, right? So here in Cypress, it comes already baked with it. So Cypress waits automatically for commands and assertions. So less headache for us. And also the automatic scrolling operation ensures that an element is in viewport before performing any action on it. For example, the clicking on a button. You know how it works, right? So if for example, I have in my web application, I'm using WebDriver.io for automating my web application, and it is having a lot of tables in one page. If I have to go to the fifth or sixth table and click on an edit button, then I'll have a command in place to click that button, but I have to scroll to that element before I perform the action. So I have to explicitly write a code to scroll to that particular button and click it. But here in Cypress, you don't need to worry about this scroll because it will automatically scroll to that button wherever it is present in the DOM. It will automatically scroll to that particular button and will try to trigger the action. And I should say their documentation is excellent. So anybody who's trying to learn the Cypress can just go to their web application, or sorry, their website, and you can just see all the documentations there. And it's very clear, and it's very easy to understand as well. Among the pros, one of my favorite pro of the entire Cypress is the code of Cypress. The code, the library, and the vocabulary that they have used is so beginner friendly. The click methods, type methods, all these are really easy to remember and execute. And also identifying a button is super easy. I'll show you the example in the setup and the demo. So just keep this in mind that they use a really good vocabulary so that any beginner can easily remember things and execute it. Also, here in Cypress, you see all of the assertions and all coming from the Mocha and Chai directly. There are definitely more pros on it, and I'm pretty sure that you guys can figure it out when you actually try to play around with Cypress in the coming days. Now, we should know the limitations too. So that is also important. We should understand what are the limitations, because if the client is coming up with a requirement, we need to select a particular automation tool, and we need to do a POC on that. We need to submit that to client, and we need to get the approval. So knowing the limitations is also one of the important parts. So there are not many cons in it, but still, I would like to nitpick a little bit. There is no feature of testing things on multiple browsers at the same time, and also for testing things on different browser tabs. So that's a big thing. Everything needs to happen in a single tab in Cypress. We used to have a lot of discussions at Qbuzz and during different levels of projects discussions. And we used to have the UX and UI guys present at the meeting, and they used to recommend like, okay, hey, don't take the user out of a single tab. Don't take him to a new tab. That's not a right approach. But unfortunately, at times, we have to depend on third-party login or third-party libraries, or for example, a payment gateway integration. So the user will be taken to a different tab or a different browser tab. So, and yeah, these scenarios are very essential. We cannot avoid this from the automation suite, and we cannot mark them as non-automatable. But Cypress actually doesn't give you the option of testing this thing right now. I think this is not really a great thing, and seriously, I definitely understand that the Cypress guys can give this to the user. In case anyone from Cyprus is watching this session right now or in future, I would love to get that feature, guys. And it's not really that hard that you cannot give it to us. We would love to have it. And you can only use JavaScript for writing the test cases. That is another thing. So the Java or Ruby or PHP pros out there. So I have to say this thing, guys. So you have to use JavaScript only for writing the test cases in Cypress. And also Cypress doesn't provide support for browsers like Safari and IE at the moment. And it has very limited support for iframe. And one another important thing is that there is no mobile app automation support for now. So the people attending this session who's working on mobile app automation, guys, sorry, you cannot use Cypress for the time being, but maybe they will have something in fold for the future. Okay, so we have discussed about the advantages and disadvantages. And now we'll talk about some of the important features. So the time travel, I have already mentioned about it. The Cypress takes the snapshots as your test is running. You can just hover on the commands, the steps, and you can see what happened during that execution of that command on the right side of the test runner. I'll show you about this in the demo or setup part. And the debuggability. So Cypress provides readable error messages and stack traces so that we can identify where exactly the error occurred and we can fix it very fast. So we know as the automation engineers, we used to spend a lot of time in maintaining our script. So that is a phase of a project itself, right? So we need to maintain the code whenever there is a UI change. So the debuggability is really important, and Cypress does a really decent job in that. And we have already discussed about the automatic waiting. So we don't need to add any waits or sleeps in our test. Cypress automatically waits for commands and assertions before moving on. Yeah, no more async help. And the consistent result. As I said, this is a ground squash approach, and they don't use Selenium in between. So previously the story was different. We were using a wrapper like WebDriver IO or protractor, and we'll have the Selenium in between, which will act as a communicator, which will take commands and will execute in the browser. But in Cypress, let me repeat this again, we don't have Selenium support or dependency. Everything will happen directly between Cypress and browser. So this will end up in really good speed and also which results in a consistent result. And sorry, yeah. Screenshots and videos. Yeah, these are two important things. So we used to attach these things in our bug reports as evidence. And in all the frameworks, we need to handle the screenshots in different hooks or something like whenever there is a failure, we need to take the screenshot and we need to attach this to the report. So that is how we used to do in all the frameworks. But in Cypress, the screenshots are taken automatically on failure or videos of your entire test suite when it is executed from the command line interface. And also the cross-browser testing. You know how important is cross-browser testing when it comes to the web application. So we cannot test it parallelly on different browsers, but we can test, the Cypress supports Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Electron, and Brave browsers. Yeah. So these are the important features of Cypress. So I think we have covered almost everything about the theory. But now let's move on to the setup. Yeah, before that, I have one more slide. Here, you can see before Cypress, what was the scenario? And with Cypress, what is it? Previously, we used to select a framework. We need to have an assertion library in place. We need to have the Selenium installed up and running in between. Then only we can trigger our test. We will have a wrapper like protractor, WebDriver IO, or something like that. But in Cypress, It's a one-stop solution for everything. You'll get everything as a bundle. You'll have a framework, assertion library inbuilt, and with mocking and stubbing, all without Selenium. That is the main highlight. And yeah, now let's go with the setup process. So what I'm going to show is like I'll create a new project folder, and I will initialize an npm module in this, and I'll install Cypress and open the Cypress, and then I will right away start creating a test case. So that's what I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so for doing this, you need to create a project folder first. I hope you guys can see my screen. Manu, is it okay?
Yeah, we can. So if you can just
Yes.
maximize it, the terminal.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. At times, if we zoom it, I mean, it can be more visible. Yeah. This is
I'm
fine.
not really good with the Zoom. We used to
Okay, no
use
problem.
Google Meet and now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so anyway, I hope
yeah.
this is
So just a prerequisite. So the people who are watching in Zoom and YouTube, I mean, please feel free to type in your comments in the chat window. Someone among us will definitely try to help you out. I mean, if you're not able to see it, or if you have any sort of technical doubts or anything, please feel free to use the chat window. So yeah, go ahead, Deepu. I mean, let's kickstart.
okay. Yeah, thank you. So I want you to go to a folder. Now I'm going to my documents and I'm going to create a folder, and you can create it like this. And yeah, Cypress. I'm not going to create it here because I have already created that for you guys. And I'm going to that folder. So now I am on my project folder. Now I want you to initialize the npm project here. So you can do that like this. Okay. So this will create a package.json for you guys with the default values. And now I'm not running it because I have already done that. And I'm going to install Cypress. So for that, you can run npm install Cypress, and we are installing it as a development dependency. So you can just run this command. I'm just copying it. Oh my God, I cannot use the chat. Okay. You can just install Cypress with this command. Okay, I'm not going to run this because I have installed this in my machine already. So just run this to install it. It will take a couple of minutes, depending upon your network speed. Thanks to BSNL, I'm having a good network right now. And yes, so once you're done with this, then we can have the Cypress open for us, npx Cypress open. This will open the Cypress test runner for us. So you can see window is popping up, Cypress test runner. So this will create a default folder structure for us. So this is the test runner I'm talking about. Okay, we'll see this later. Right now you have your test runner also open. So I'm just closing it right now. So as I said, this might have automatically created the folder structure for us. So I'll just go to the document. Yes, the Cypress is here. And I'm just opening this in my, yes, you can see that here. The entire folder structure is ready here. And now I have already mentioned like we are using Mocha as a framework in Cypress. And I don't know how many of you have already experienced in Mocha. So in Mocha, we used to have the describe and it blocks for our test suite and test cases. So, and in Mocha, we have the spec files. So people who have already experienced in Cucumber, you know how the feature files will look like, dot feature. So those are the starting point of the execution. And here we have the spec files. So you need to write the test in this integration folder. And I'm going to create a basic spec file. Yeah, so this is my basic spec file. And within this spec file, I'll be writing which suite I'm going to execute and which all test cases I need to include in that suite. So that will be in describe and its blocks. For example, my login cases is my first suite. And then I will have the it blocks. It blocks means individual test cases. So I'll write my first test case here, launching the app. This is my first test case. Okay, so I have my suite and my first test case inside that suite. Now I'm going to call the Cypress methods for performing different actions. So first and foremost, we have to go to a web application for testing something. So for that, we use cy.visit method. So this visit method will take us to the URL. So this is the URL that we are going to use today. I'll share this in the chat. Okay, so this is the URL that we are going to use. Just to provide this URL here, and you have your first test case ready. You don't need to worry about any other setup. The Cypress is already ready to execute your test. I'll just open the test runner again. So this will basically have the basic spec file. For the first time, it will take some time, and later it's super quick. Okay, so the test runner is loading. Okay, so here you can see the integration test. So the first test is ready, the basic spec.js. So when I click on this test, it will open a browser instance and it will execute the test for us. So this will basically load that URL. That's all. So this is our first test case. Okay, so the buffalocard.com page is loaded. Yeah, so you can see the first test case is passing here. So we are done with our first test case. Okay, I'm just stopping it. Now, here, after loading this page, I need to check and verify whether this particular page is loaded or not. You know about the assertions and all, right? So I will add an assertion to check the title of this web page. So for that, I can use cy dot should assertion, and I will check whether it is equal to the expected result. Even I don't know what is the title of this page. I'll just go and check what is the title of the page. And here I need to just inspect and see what is the title. So this is the title, login demo POS. So I'll just add this as the expected result here. So now we have an assertion in place. So this cy.title will get the title of the currently loaded web page, and it will check against this expected result with this equal assertion. So now I have an assertion as well. Now let me run this again. Okay, so both test steps are over. So here the assertion is passing, and that is why the test is passing. Now let's see how a failure will occur and will be plotted in the test runner. So I'm just giving a wrong expected result here. I'm just running the test again. Yeah, so you can see the test is failing. You can see a really good uh, explanation about what happened, what is the reason, everything is properly mentioned here, which is very easy to understand and debug. Here, that stack trace is also here. At what step it is failing, everything is here. So it's really easy to debug. Okay, so that's all about creating a basic test case, which is having all the hard-coded values in here. So this is not the right way. All of you know, all of you understand that this is not the right way to write the test cases. We are not supposed to have any of this data in any of our tests hard-coded. So we have to convert this entire thing to a PEOM model. So for that, I need to have a couple of folders here. So first thing is data. I'll have a data folder which contains all the data that is required for this test. And also I will have another folder which is pages, which will have different pages of the application. And you know what a page object class will contain, right? I hope you guys have an idea about what all are the different contents of a page object class. It'll have all the element locators and also the methods listed down there, which will do all the actions and all. So here I have the data, the pages, and also here also we can add different folders, right? If we have a login, then you can have a folder and have all the spec files in it. And if you have a add to cart or a create account uh, suite or file or page or test cases, you can have it as, in different folders. You can do it as you wish. So right now, what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to create a data file, which will be data.js. And here, I'm going to okay. Here I'm going to have all the details. First one is page URL, and then page title, and then username, and then user password. So I'll have all the details in here. And now let me copy everything from here. We'll be taking everything out of the test and we'll be moving everything to the data file. Okay. Now we'll have to have this username and password for testing the login. Okay. So now I'm going to remove everything from here, all this data from here. And now I will have this data object of this data file here. And for that, I can use const data, and which is requiring this particular file. Okay, so now I have this reference of this particular data file. Now I need to just call the different data. First, I will call the page URL, and here I'll call the page title. Now you can see the tests are a little bit tweaked to have a nice look. We are not calling anything. We are not hard coding anything here. We're calling everything from the data file. And now I'm going to add login page as well here. So login.page.js. Here, we'll have a login page class. Okay. So we'll have the login page here, which will have two things. What are the two things here? It will have the locators, and it will have the methods to perform different actions. So, in Cypress, we are not supposed to use ID, name, class, XPath. These attributes we cannot use to identify the locators. We are only allowed to use the jQuery locators, which is derived from the CSS. So that can be considered as a disadvantage right now, because we have only limited option to identify the locators, but it is also fine. We can have the CSS to identify the locators, but right now that is one limitation we have. So here I'm going to add my first method. I'm going to take this thing from here. This launch app is calling the Cypress methods directly in the test. That is not a recommended way. We'll be just calling the methods here, and all the actions will be performed in the page of the class itself. So I'm going to add a method here, which will take two parameters. First is URL, and then title. Now I'm going to take these two actions from here and to here. So the page URL, I'll be converting it as URL, and the title, I'll be converting it as title. Now I need to call this method from here. So for that, I need to import the login page here. Here you need this login page. Oh, why this is not getting dismissed? Oh, okay. So here you need to call the login page, import login page from this location. The pages. Okay. So now I have this login page imported here. So I can just call that method in that login page, launch app. So this will again take the two parameters, data dot page URL and data dot page title. Now I'm just calling this method only and passing the two parameters, and all the actions are performed here. Okay. Now I'm going to add one more method here, which is for performing the user login. I'm going to add another method, which will again take two parameters, username. I need the username and password to log in, right? So two parameters, username and password. And for performing the action, I need the locators of the page. So I'll just go to this URL, and I need the locators, three locators I need. First, I need the username, password, and login. So I'll take the locators. So as I mentioned, we have only CSS locators. So firstly, I'll get the input username element. So username, and here this will be returning the XPath of that input username. So here, please note this carefully. We are getting the element in this particular method. Here, I'm going to call the CSS property name. Okay, so mostly it will be username only. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's username. So username. So this method will actually return the XPath of the username, this username. And similarly, we will write the yeah, user password. We'll have the locator for this user password, and we need one more thing. Here it will be mostly password, I think. Let's see. Yeah, the name is used password. So I'm just copying it here. So this will return the locator for this password field. I need one more locator, which is for the login button to click it. So for that, I'll have, so for that button, I'll use another method to get the XPath. So I'll call contains. It's very simple. You know, I'm just checking whether the DOM is containing a button with this text. What text? This text. Login text. Okay. So I'm just checking. So this will return the locator or path for the login button. So I have all the locators in place, and now I need to perform the action on it. First, I need to call the input username, and I need to type the value. So this is the method for typing the value. I'm just typing the username here. So username, I'm already receiving it in this method. So I'll just type this in this particular field, which I'm getting from here. Now I'm going to call the input user password, and I'm going to type the password. Okay. Now what will we do? We'll click on the button. Okay. I can just call the click method for clicking the button. Now the last thing is after the login. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to log into Buffalo Cart. Here, I need to check any of these things to verify whether the login was successful or not. I can use anything. So now I'm going to use the easiest one. So I'll just check whether the DOM containing this particular text or not. So I can do it like this, cy.contains, just that home text. Okay. So now we have two test cases. We have the launch app test case and also, sorry, method. We have the user login method. So I'm just going to rename this as login because all the tests are related to login. So I'm just modifying, sorry, login.spec.js. Login.spec.js. Okay. So now I have my first test case here, and I will add one more test case. So here, it will verify the valid login. So this is my second test case, which will contain the launch app again, because this is also needed. First, we need to launch the URL. Then we will call the valid user login. Yes. Here, we will pass the other data as well. Username, comma, user dot, sorry, data dot user password. So this method will be invoked, which will be taking the two parameters, and it will enter it in the input username password field, and it will click the button. It will check whether I'm not providing any weights here, guys. If you are following the Selenium or the driver IO or any other frameworks, you may have to provide some weights at some point of time, because if there is a network delay, we will get this test case failed, because before the DOM is loaded, it will go ahead with this verification and the test will fail. So I'm not, Cypress, it's having an inbuilt mechanism to do the proper weights. And yeah, so we have the two test cases ready. So we are going to execute this test cases. You can see it will dynamically change the login.spec.js. I'm going to execute it, guys. Fingers crossed. Yeah, we can see the two test cases here. First one is launching the app and verifying the assertion. And that is passing. And here we are doing the valid login. Here you can see everything is happening on the right side. And yeah, so all the two test cases are passing here. We have the verify valid login and launching the app test case. Both of them are passing, thanks to God. Usually in demos, things will break. Yeah, so here we are checking the home button is displayed or not. So yeah, this is the time travel, which I was mentioning in the theory session. So here we are visiting the URL and we are checking the title. We are getting the input username and inputting it here. And we are typing everything and it is checking whether the button contains. Yeah, so that's it. And everything. You can see all the steps and the snapshots on the right side. Okay. So now we have two test cases ready and we have executed it. We have a working framework here and we can include all the tests and we can have all the data here. We can just call it in our test based on the need, and we can have the pages declared and all the elements declared and the methods to perform declared in the same page. So we have a working framework here, guys. Now, the next thing is to integrate a report. So that is what is mentioned here. We have covered almost all these cases here. Writing the first test, accessing the elements and interacting with them, validation. We have covered everything. And now we will have this report integration as well. So we have a lot of report, sorry guys. We have a lot of report integration possibilities for Cypress, HTML reports, Mocha Awesome, and different extent reports also, I think. And today I'm going to show you how easily one report can be integrated. So for adding Mocha Awesome, you need to run these commands. Go to the project folder and just run this command. Do you want me to share this in the chat? I will share it for the people who are following me. Okay. So this is the command for installing the Mocha Awesome reporter. And then you need to go to your cypress.json file and you need to add this thing. Hope you guys can see my screen. And just add this in the cypress.json. I'm sharing that as well here. And then you need to add another thing. You need to add this import in your Cypress support index.js. You can see Cypress support index.js. You need to import this thing. I have already done that. Here you can see the import which I have added. And one last thing, you need to add this module.export, this entry here. You need to have this plugin, Mocha Awesome plugin. So you can go to the plugin index.js. You need to include that plugin here. Okay, guys, we're good. We are good to go. We have our first report integrated to the framework. I hope this will create a fantastic report for us. So before we generate the report, we are not going to run the test using the test runner, which we have seen just now. Now we are going to execute this test in the command line, which we will need for while we integrate this to a CI/CD tool. We need to execute the test via command line interface, right? So you can execute this particular login spec.js in command line by running this command. This will basically run your test via command line. I'm going to share this as well in the chat. Just run this to, yeah. Oh, I forgot to share the module. Yeah, so just include this in the module. Okay. Module.export in the plugins file. Okay, now we have everything ready and I'm going to run this test case via command line. Fingers crossed again. This will open this instance, but it is not going to open any browser or not. So there no browsers will be open. This will execute in a headless mode. Yeah, so it is about to execute it. So you can see the progress in the log. That will take a couple of seconds. I don't know whether it's because of my machine or yeah, it's starting it. So you can see the logs here, no? Right? Login.spec file is running. The login case is running. Yeah, the first step is passing, and maybe the second step or the test is already started. Yes, 2 of our test is passing. Yeah, right now Cypress is preparing the wonderful report for us. Okay, all specs are passing, all good. So yeah, we have the reports folder here, and yes, we have the Mocha Open report here. Let's open this report. Wow, we have the login case reports here. We can see the test step, each and every step included in this test case. And yeah, so this is pretty good. And yeah, we need to see how the test report will look like if there is any failure, right? So we are deliberately going to fail the test case. How we can do that? We'll just give a wrong input here. Only for the first test case, we are going to give a wrong expected result. And declare one. Yeah. So this will, the first test case should fail this time. Yeah. I'm going to run this again. It will take a couple of seconds. Let's say. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I saw some message like my connection is not really good. Okay. So the first step for the first test case is failing, guys. So it is expected. And second one should pass. Yes. Okay. Again, Cypress is preparing the reports for us. Okay. So it's done. So you can see there is a failure, and let's see how the report will look like. Yeah, guys, you can see the first test case is failing, and the second one is passing. And let's see in detail what happened. Yeah, here you can see the assertion error, and the expected and actual was different. We were expecting this one, and we got this, so the test is failed. And here you can see the screenshot which I was mentioning in the theory session. It will automatically, I haven't done anything explicitly for taking the screenshot, but it will automatically take the screenshot and it will attach in the Mocha Awesome report. And you have some fancy filters here. You can turn it, toggle it on and off. If you want to see the failures only, you can toggle it on and off, show passed only. So that's up to you guys. You can just yeah, I think we have everything in place right now. We have the POM model. We are not hard coding anything. We have the pages class, pages, and we have the plugins added report. Now just go ahead and write your test cases and share the reports to the management. Yeah. We have a lot of things to discuss. By we can have multiple spec files, and we can execute. We can group the test cases in Mocha. We can create different queues. We can schedule different jobs based on the queues that we need to execute on different intervals. Yeah, so a lot of things are there. So for today, I think I'm done, Manu. I think I have covered everything, and the report integration was the last part. I think I have covered that as well.
Yeah. So let's see. I mean, if any of the audience have any sort of questions, or if they want to hear anything
Yes,
on the
sure.
topics which we discussed. So yeah, it's open to Q&A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if anyone have any question, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can ask. Okay. Yeah. Here we have the questions.
Can you give
Shall I
a
read out, or you can go ahead?
no, I can see that. I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
see.
Sure.
Yeah, for the first question, can you give a quick comparison with protractor, how Cypress is better, etc. Yeah, so for answering this question, so I like to say the Selenium factor. So there is no dependency on Selenium for Cypress. So that is one of the biggest difference. And also this uh, there are built-in methods for taking the screenshots and recording the videos and attaching to the report. So all these things, I think I don't have much experience in Protractor, but in WebDriver.io we have to do everything. We have to add code for all these things in different hooks. So that is one of the important difference when it comes to Protractor and Cypress. And obviously, Protractor is so more we can customize it, we can use it for different purpose. And in Cypress also we have the same thing in place, but with some limitations. In Protractor, I think we can use the IDs, name, class, everything. Uh, how? Yeah. So that is the answer for the first question. Can this be used for API testing? Yeah, the Cypress can be used for API testing. I think we had done some POC a few months back in QBurst, and that was that got really good appreciation from the client. How to deal with asynchronous operation, ideal timeout. That yeah, these kind of things we'll have to take it in a deeper level. So which cannot be conveyed in one session. So this asynchronous operation, how the ideal timeouts are being taken care of. So this will be discussed in the following session. Yeah, this one, Ashwati, I got this question, and yeah, I think it's really good if we can take it to the next session as well. Can we man-wise the framework? Man-wise, I didn't get that actually. Can you just tell me what's the reason? I mean, what is the meaning of Mavenize? Okay, okay, oh, Mavenize. Okay, fine, fine. So give me the
I think they was asking about. Yeah.
yes. I just spelled it wrongly. So yeah, we can have it. We can have the inbuilt methods for Cypress, and also as I mentioned, it's very open for different folks, and we can have it. Uh, Please show how to integrate this test in Jenkins pipeline using config. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can have this in the coming sessions or follow-up sessions. So we can definitely. There are a lot of CI/CD integration possibilities with the Travis CI, Jenkins, Bamboo. Bamboo is one of the, I mean, biggest. I mean, the biggest users of Cypress. I have read that somewhere. We'll have the integration sessions coming in. Sure, Satyanarayan Sharma. Yeah, we'll have these
Uh,
things covered in the
yeah,
following session.
just to add on to that, so as you have already seen how to run the test from CLI, so we can have this integrated in any CI/CD tools like Jenkins or Bamboo or any other tool. So that is possible.
Yeah, sure. We'll include both. I think we can do that with Bamboo and Jenkins in the coming sessions. We'll have separate sessions for that. Definitely.
Yeah, I think we have answered pretty all questions, I guess. Any more questions? I mean, people who watching in YouTube, I think most number of people are in YouTube. In fact, I think.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, we'll
Saturday,
just
right?
yeah,
Opening
we'll just wait
the
for one
room
more
and
minute.
the connecting, it's very hard.
Right. Yeah. Let's wait for another minute. I mean, if anyone have any question to type in.
Yeah, sure.
Just a note to who have been watching the session. I mean, next week we're gonna have another session with respect to the JavaScript, because I think that's a basic and fundamental things to be learned for all these kind of frameworks. So, just an FYI to who have been watching the session. Next Saturday, 10 a.m., we're gonna have a session on JavaScript, and another session with respect to Cypress and all this will be coming. Will be there in the next month. So please do subscribe our channel. You'll be hearing about this. So we have just one question: how weights are handled? This was asked in YouTube just
Yeah,
now.
the weights we can actually let me go to the steps again. So we can have the weight even if you want to, if your application is too slow. For example, the previous IRCTC, if you are automating that, even if you have a good network, the application will take time. So in that case, you may have to call cy.wait, and you can provide the number of seconds that you are going to or wait. So you can have this, or you can create a method which will wait for a stipulous amount of time for a particular element, explicit wait. So that is also can be added. We can have the utils here, right? We can have the utils to do different activities. If you want to pass JSON, or if you want to have some API calls in between. So we can have this in a different folder called utils. Yeah, we can use implicit wait as well. Ashwati, we can use implicit wait.
So I think most of the people who have been attending this session have either worked in any of the frameworks. I mean, either Selenium or some other automation frameworks, right? So any sort of comparison like of questions, I mean, anyone, do you have anything? I mean,
One thing I would like to say on top of this is like in Cubers, we have a lot of different projects and different frameworks. And mostly we have hybrid frameworks in place, which can be used for testing the APIs and the UI. And also we can use the same framework for the performance testing as well. And also we can do the mobile app automation, just providing different keywords, and we can drive the automation to different aspects. So for that, Cypress cannot be used right now because it will only support the web applications right now. Maybe we'll have this in future. So that is one of the biggest disadvantage of Cypress. But for a project which is having only a 3-month span or a 5-month span, which is having a release planned on a particular date. So for that, so those kind of small projects or products, this is one of the biggest suitable project or product or tool that we can implement to our project.
yeah, perfect. So I think it was sharp 60 minutes session. So let's wind up. So thanks a lot, Deepu, for your time. I mean, this was a real wonderful session. This was really helpful. Thank you so much. And again, thanks to Pradudwini team. So stay tuned, guys. I mean, who've been watching us, do subscribe our channel also. Thanks again. Yeah, stay safe.
Yeah, thank you.